right, hello Masters. Drew and Gabe here for your Cycle 4 supplementary podcast. If you're new to the Masters game here, basically we're asking you guys to watch the first podcast, which hopefully you guys have some free time to watch the first podcast. It's a little bit long, but there is some good stuff in there. Gives you guys just an idea of what Cycle 4 is all about. And then what I do is sit down with Gabe and interview him a little bit about what changes. So just in terms of general overview, what's different?
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot more similarities this cycle, being that it's open prep and open prep for the regular blog. A lot of that's going to be the same. I would say the one difference in sneaking in some of the pieces for like Metcons and stuff, we will keep the Masters qualifier in mind because it typically is 1 to 2 weeks right after the Open. So you'll see some pieces oriented to that. But
so it won't just be double unders and burpees.
Yeah, so it's not going to be quite as simple, but definitely priority will be open prep, so you'll see a lot of similarities to the regular blog. So
now
definitely go back and watch that the regular podcast, because you'll see us describe a lot of these things in more detail than we get here. So
yep. So warm up. What's going on with the warm ups?
Yeah, so you'll see primers in the warm up. Just because everybody needs those to help them prepare what you would use on an open day. But probably the biggest difference that you'll see is we're still going to hold the shoulder and hip mobility pretty high in our focus. So you'll see two times per week, you'll see a focus on either hips or shoulder mobility and stability. Maybe a little bit of both in there, or it may be separated depending on the training day. But you'll see a lot more focus on that, just to make sure that you have that extra time to make sure that you get that full range of motion, and hopefully carries over to your quality of movement. So
extra range of motion would be super helpful in Olympic lifting and strength work. What changes from the regular cycle?
Yeah, so we're going to focus on Olympic lifting once per week after a Metcon, and this won't necessarily be just like a test lift. This will be some percentage work sometimes. So it'll just hopefully get you fatigued from the Metcon before, and then just a higher demand on speed under the bar, movement efficiency, things like that. So we're just going to blend those two together. We've spent an entire year, and even more so probably than the regular blog, paying special attention to our positions and slowing down squats and getting in the right positions. So now it's going to be jumping full into like, okay, let's put this into play. So that's kind of the idea behind that. And then as far as the lifting, the power lifting, it's going to be more on time sets. So you'll be given a certain block of time, maybe it's 30 seconds, and it's going to ask you to accumulate as many reps as possible.
So is that squat and deadlift?
This is for power movement. So power cleans, power snatches.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it'll be you'll get to strategize whether you need to go touch and go, whether you need to go singles, but it's going to be try to hit the proper positions, but under a time constraints. So and then one time per week you'll be doing power clean to push jerk sets. Okay. So that'll be just helping you cycle to get overhead a little bit more. Hopefully applies to if that comes up in a Metcon, but just getting it'll allow us to load it a little bit heavier than we would in a Metcon.
So obviously with conditioning, interval, Metcon, bitch work, I mean a lot of the stuff's going to be the same, because our goal even is exactly the same for some age groups and pretty damn close to the same for the other ones. I mean, what can you say about those things that focuses on the Masters?
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at the two tests, they're not extremely different tests. You look at the Open versus for the open age group versus the Masters.
They sprinkle the like skills in there to make sure that you're not going to like tank at the games, but it's very similar.
Yeah, but it's very similar, and I mean that with the addition of the new age group, the 35 to 39. I mean I assume those tests are going to look exactly like the open tests. So it's, you know, again, it's important that you're doing the same things because it's going to be testing the same things, just in varying degrees. So some of the percentages are going to be a little bit lighter to ensure that you're able to still continue to address, like, for example, we look at the strength stuff. You're going to do some similar squatting, some of the hypertrophy sets, some of the endurance squatting. But when you look at a Masters athlete, they're going to go at a lighter percentage so that we're not reinforcing poor movement just for the sake of reps, right? So it's, if you struggle to get in a good front rack position, we don't want you to stay in that crappy front rack position and just do a bunch of reps. We want you to take the time to work on that front rack position, get in a proper positioning and accumulate good reps. So we're just going to factor that in, and percentages may be a little bit lighter there, here or there. So in terms of, you know, the rest of the stuff that's going to be different, the primary difference, I will say, probably is in bitch work. And I want to specifically address, I guess, a change in volume of squatting, and kind of how we just change the focus of each cycle of what we're training. And I've read a lot on lactate threshold training, specifically like in a max steady state. So it'll be a monostructural piece, somewhere around 20 minutes to 25 minutes. And you will need to work moderately hard, not all out, but not slow steady. So it's kind of in that in between. And a lot of research has just shown that is helpful, especially to older athletes, in adjusting to differences in volume, adjusting to high intensity training. It goes all the way into your recovery and just how you feel in general. So,
right. One of the things that I know that I've done research on, and this came from Jordan was cramping a lot during regionals training and games training in 2013 or 14, I believe, and you know, a lot of people just associate dehydration, but there's each piece of the puzzle, you know, stimulating the muscle, being hydrated, having electrolytes, you know, that whole, each piece is important. And the more you stimulate your muscles, the more time under tension, all that stuff creates a nervous system that can handle volume. So this is kind of a low barrier to entry way to do that, and that's exactly what we did with Jordan. We changed that weakness warm-up to a 3K, 4K, 5K, that kind of a thing, and a lot of his cramping went away, and it wasn't as related to electrolytes and water as most people might think it is. So, you know, just to speak to that, you know, we've done that in the past with athletes, and it does work. So.
Yep. So hopefully that'll go a long way for them. You're going to have your open sets just like you will in the regular blog.
Are they mandatory?
The open sets won't be. You're going to have. I'm actually going to put one in per day. So you'll have
the mix
5
in there
and
more
yeah,
choices.
Going to have a mix in there, and so that if there is one particular thing or two particular things that you know that you struggle with, you can hit those multiple times throughout the cycle. I mean, it's just important to know that the meat and potatoes of this is open prep. So the more you put it into play, the more you put it into your metcons, your intervals, the stuff that you'll see directly feel like what you'll do in the open, the better. But we still do know that there's sometimes you need to separate that out and
right.
really focus on that. So yeah, other than that, just looks a lot like open prep. So one thing I will do is that I'm going to try to keep at least one piece either the same or modified just slightly so that you can have an almost direct comparison to the regular blog and open prep. So I think that's important, just because if when you look back at open workouts that are the same, that they don't scale for that first masters group, that you can have a good idea of just how close or how far you are to the open athletes.
Right. Cool. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube and you're not sure, kind of what this is all about, the complete tier on our website has masters programming. There's a Facebook group where Gabe, talks with all the athletes, keeps track of all that. And this podcast is just a way for us to explain to you guys what the cycle's like. So if you're watching it and you're interested, head over to misfitathletics.com and check out the complete tier.
And one thing I'll add on to that is that that 35. I know we get a lot of questions on the 35 to 39. Should I be following masters programming versus should I be following open programming? And you certainly could follow the masters programming. It will prepare you for the open and for the masters qualifier. You could also follow the open. Probably a good in between would be subscribe to the complete tier, have access to the masters programming. See the similarities, maybe do it a little bit, and then you have that additional, the resources that are provided. So you have that group, that Facebook group. You see where everybody's at. So it can go either way. Either way, you'll be very prepared, though. So.
Awesome. Good luck in Cycle 4, guys.